Context is everything. This morning we hear again from John. The last of the Gospels written, the portrayal of Jesus in John is the most divine. Also, the most human in many ways. In John, we have the notion of Jesus being God-man. That the Messiah was not just some earthly king come to restore the Jews to greatness, but God coming to all humanity. In John, you see the separation between the followers of Christ and the Jews, because a schism had already begun to take place in the Jewish community. Today's revelation is foundational in John's understanding of Jesus being part and parcel of God. Yet he still talks as God as dwelling apart. In my Father's house there are many rooms. We use this passage often during funerals because we have seen heaven as some home or dwelling place where we go when we die. And God has prepared our rooms for us, sort of like our parents keeping a room for us in our ancestral home, a place to return to. Jesus refers to it in this way and then immediately tells Thomas that it's different than that. He says when Thomas asks him to know the way to dwell with God, he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. And most of us hear, me, Jesus, is the way, the truth, and the life. They don't hear, I am the way. I am is the truth. I am is the life. They don't hear that the Logos, the Word, whom John starts off his whole gospel describing, the foundation of his gospel is this, that the Word, the Logos, is the way to the Father. The way to connect to God is through the Logos, which we don't translate, though we translate other words. The way to God is through God's divine purpose, which is love, which is what Jesus embodied. If we know the divine purpose for existence, then we know God. If you know God's divine purpose made flesh, made real, made tangible, then you can see God. Philip then asks, well, show us God, show us the Father. Jesus replies, you've been with me all this time, Philip, and you haven't been able to see God through me? In John's gospel, Jesus is fully divine and divinely connected. The Father and I are one, he says, one consciousness. If I speak and I am one with the Father, then it is the Father who speaks. If you don't believe the words, believe the actions. I don't know how many of you heard the saying, actions speak louder than words. Don't believe what I say, believe what I do. Believe the actions, believe the works. Believe the Spirit being played out in front of you. And then he says something that we often forget. If you believe, you too can connect with God. If you know and act in accordance with God's divine purpose, what I am embodied here, Jesus tells them, you too will do the works of the Lord. In fact, you will do greater works. He tells his disciples that they will do more than him. Wow! Jesus from John speaks with humility. This isn't Jesus saying, me, I'm the way, I'm the way. I am the way. He does not say me. I am the holy and mighty one. No, he says, I am one with God. I serve God, and in truth, God's purpose in the world. Through your understanding of who I am, you too can act in alignment with God's purpose. You can become and proclaim the Word, the Logos in the world. You too can embody God's love. Let go, he tells them, and trust. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Don't worry about it. There are many different rooms, many different ways, but the same truth will be fulfilled as they are because they're one of us. We too, all of us, are his disciples. We too can believe and then act upon our belief. If we act in the name of who Jesus was and is, not his actual name, invoking Jesus' name and expecting some behavior is magic. You say it in the name, but then did you pronounce the name correctly? Was that his real name? Did he have more than one name or two names? Do you use his surname? You don't do it in the name of Jesus. You do it in the name of what and who he is. God's purpose, God's incarnate love. If we act and ask in that name, if what we're doing is to foster love in the world and not for our own selfish desires, or the desires of our tribe or our clan or our nation or our denomination, then God will act through us. And we will become the embodiment of that purpose in the world. God, give us the strength to do your will and the wisdom to know what that is. And God won't say no to that. God, give me this job. God, give me that person that I'm in love with. God, find me a parking spot close to the doctor's office. It's all about me. Today, as we remain in this time of trial, why do we ask for relief? And we do. I'm going nuts. I don't know about you guys. Do we ask for relief for our welfare or for the world's? Do we want to return to the way things were, where inequality and injustice abounded? Or do instead we want to act towards each other and the world, exemplifying God's divine purpose, showing love and compassion above our own desires? Do we speak on our behalf or on the behalf of those who have not? Do we open the doors to the rooms prepared for us since the foundation of the world? Or do we hide in them in fear and cut ourselves off? This shelter in place has grown old. It started and continues in many ways out of fear. But we can embrace it as an act of love, as a way to protect one another and not grumble. We can resent. That's easy. We can see that flawed as they are, many have our best interests at heart. And then we can trust God that through our love and sacrifice that we will prevail. That come what may, Christ is in us and with us. God's divine self is with us. God's divine purpose is with us, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever.